Okay, so for today's lesson, we're going to be doing exponential and log derivatives, but now with the product in the chain rule. So here's just a little refresher on the product in the chain rule. We use the product rule when we have two functions that we're multiplying together. You keep the first function as it is, and then you take the derivative of the second function and you multiply those two. Plus the derivative of that first function times the second function. That's how we use the product rule. We use the chain rule when we have a function inside of another function. So I first do the derivative of the outside function, leaving that inside function, the g of x function, as it is. Then I take the derivative of that function on the inside and multiply it. So let's start with the product rule one. Okay, so for this one, we have this x squared is a function and e to the negative x is another function. So to do the derivative, we leave this f, this x squared as it is, and I take the derivative of g. So remember, the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x. So the derivative of this piece is e to the negative x. And then I'll have to take the derivative of the exponent and multiply it. That's -1. Plus, now I take the derivative of f, so that's 2x, times g. Just leave g as it is. Okay, simplifying this, this becomes -x squared e to the negative x when I simplify this part. And this just stays plus 2x e to the negative x. And there's the derivative using the product rule. Okay, number 2 is another example. So there's a function, and there's another function, another example of the product rule. So to do the derivative of this, I leave this first function as it is, and I multiply it times the derivative of the second function. So we leave e to the 3x, and then I have to multiply it by the derivative of the exponent, which is just 3. Plus, now I take the derivative of x, which is -6x squared, and I multiply that by the second function. So when I simplify this down, that becomes -6x cubed e to the 3x plus -6x squared e to the 3x. Okay, there's number 2. Okay, now let's practice with some chain rule. So we have a function and a function here. I have ln x inside of this cubic function. So first I deal with the cube. So I bring this out front. I'm leaving that g of x function alone. So I leave ln x as it is. And then I subtract 1. So I move the 3 out front, and then I subtracted 1 from here. Now I take the derivative of ln x, which is just 1 over x. So we end up with 3 ln x squared all over x. Okay. Let's try another chain rule. Same thing here. This is our function inside of another function. So I bring this 4 out front, that becomes 8. I keep the ln 3x as it is, and this now, when I minus 1, becomes cubed, times the derivative of what's inside. If we do the derivative of ln 3x, remember that's just 1 over 3x, then I have to take the derivative of this 3x, which is just 3. So we end up with 24 ln 3x cubed over 3x. These simplify, so our final answer is 8 times ln 3x cubed over x. And that's it for the product chain rule examples.